I lost that creativity when I entered my 8-year program. I just thought it was a natural part of growing up. Before, I just couldn't stop drawing, and I didn't stop thinking of things to draw. But I was realizing that it's what added color to my life. And so when in medical training, everything, it's very grueling. You spend all your waking hours on it. I mean, I barely had time to eat and exercise and other self-care when we're working 80 hours a week. But I carved out time. I just started drawing again. I just started thinking of, well, what causes, what missions really resonate with me? So I actually just started drawing about my women's health related things. There were some projects that I got involved in, such as, hey, explaining what these birth control methods are, coming up with mnemonics. I realized that was a great way to blend my life so far. And I just really love that. I realized through my art, I love bringing joy to people. I love helping them see things in a new way.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to this episode of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I am your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to anywhere you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And while you're there, tell us what you want to hear about. Tell us what you want us to talk about and give us honest feedback so we make sure we're delivering exactly what you want about career and life changes. So you guys know what I mean by dissed. I mean displaced, disgruntled, maybe disenfranchised. Any of those things, if you've experienced or you know somebody, hey, join us on this show. Because today we have Dr. Toni Liu, a family medicine physician, a cartoonist, and a life coach. And she has a lot to tell us just about herself and life in general. So I can't wait to get into our discussion today. And now, a word from our sponsor. Emmett Hayes III Coffee Company, EH3, specializes in selecting 100% Arabica coffee beans from distinct coffee growing regions across the globe. EH3 Coffee Company offers an exclusive brand of organic coffee beans and blends. All coffee products are craft roasted to perfection, which yields consistency and quality, taste, and optimal flavor. EH3's quest is to create an evolutionary coffee experience for every single customer, every single time. Get your coffee today at emmetscoffee.com. That's EMMITTSCOFFEE.com. Welcome to License to Live, Dr. Toni.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jarrett, for having me.
No, when I go through LinkedIn, and you guys know I'm on LinkedIn and all social media, you can find me at Dr. Jarrett. Spell out the word doctor, J-A, 2 R's, E-1-T. And I saw your profile, and as we were connecting, it just stood out to me because right after the word physician, you had that word cartoonist in there. So when I think cartoonist, I think someone very artistic. I think someone who has a lot of creativity and is using that to do some things. So I am so glad we connected there. And I'm so happy that you are here to talk about yourself and a little bit more about what you do. So again, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jared. Such an honor to be here. Thanks for reaching out.
Absolutely. And well, just one question off the wall. Do you drink coffee?
Oh, not regularly, but I enjoy it.
How do you take your coffee?
Just with milk.
Just with milk. All right. I know mine. Typically, I may have a little sugar, a little cream. Sometimes it may be black. It all depends. But I always like to ask my guests, what are they drinking? But we're having an evening interview tonight. And well, I'm not going to be drinking coffee right now because I'll probably want to go to sleep soon.
Me too. I'm more of a tea person as well, but I can drink that at all times of day.
Well, tell me, so you did an 8-year stint at Brown, both for your undergrad career and your medical school. And after you figure that, it's like you kind of go through medical school and you think you have everything all figured out and you're making those decisions. And you took off in an OB residency, but somewhere along the lines, you changed to family. Tell us a little bit about that decision. I know it might have been tough.
Of course. Thanks for asking. So I just want to preface before all of this that my decision to go to medical school was a bit pressured. I always grew up wanting to be a cartoonist. I was drawing. I was voted the next Picasso in school. But of course, I came from a strict Asian family of immigrants and came from China. And they're just like, you have to be doctor, lawyer, engineer to get a real job. Art can be your hobby. So I'm like, okay. And I happened to get into a combined program at Brown. So I never questioned if that's what I was going to do. I just kept chugging along, doing the next thing and the next thing. And I remember going through medical school and being like, through each rotation, I'm just like, well, that was interesting, but that doesn't feel right. I can't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. And then I got to the end of my rotations. I was like, oh, shoot, I don't want to do any of them. What do I do? Existential crisis right there. But I just thought, think back, what rotations do I enjoy? What causes do I care about? I found that I was really drawn to helping women's rights, women's equality, women's reproductive health and rights. I remember I had a friend in the summer of my last year of medical school came to me, panicked that she was 5 months pregnant and didn't know it. And so I just felt such gratification from being able to help talk her through it and her options. And I was just like, I think as an OB, I can do the most good helping women. I'm only seeing women. I'm focused on helping women. So long story short, I ended up in an OB residency for 2 full years. But actually, as I was going through it, I realized some things that I didn't really think about when choosing the field, which is the incredible responsibility of being a surgeon, because being an OB, you are doing these major surgeries and you're delivering babies, which is actually a really high risk procedure compared to other fields. And so when the gravity of that responsibility of being a doctor really hit me, and I was thinking, do I want most of my career? And I know we're expected to be perfect. It's terrible in medicine. There are such high expectations. And so I had ingrained them from my culture as well, and just everything and I know that in medicine, if we make mistakes, people are going to suffer. And so I made the conscious decision to change from OB to family medicine so I could see more people in the outpatient setting, and also to maintain those relationships with the babies I delivered, because I wanted to follow up, see how the kids were doing, see the children as well. And so I just realized this was a much better fit for me. And so the transition took me a little bit, but I was able to hop right in from one residency to another. And I finished family med in 2.5 years instead of 3 because of the prior training I had in OB. And I was just really thankful, because you never hear about people switching residencies. You think once you pick, it's over, but it's always possible.
Credentials verified.
I agree with you. It's always possible because, well, at the end of the day, you have to make some choice. But if you're not going to be happy or something's not sitting right with you, it may be a sign to yourself to make that change. And hats off go to you, Dr. Liu, for you to make that decision 2 years into a residency and say, maybe this isn't for me. You make that change and you never look back.
That's right. And I don't regret it at all.
And that's the best thing. So folks, you have to listen to that gut sometimes, even if you're far down the road or farther than you thought you needed to be, and you're maybe pushing yourself down that way and you're just going and going and you're miserable. really take that time to think about it and maybe reconsider. It may be time for that change. It may be time to look at something different. After all, you're hearing Dr. Toni. One of the first things I heard her say, she dreamed of being a cartoonist, but then became a physician, kind of lucked up to become a physician. And now she's going back to do some of the things that she's loved to do. And before we get into that, I have to know, have you ever been dissed before?
Ooh, I feel like everyone has in their life. It just depends on what form it comes in, right? When I hear the question, what have you ever been dissed? I think of feeling disempowered, feeling intruded upon, of my boundaries violated. And I would say I'm very lucky that I haven't experienced much of that in my professional life. But I will say in my personal life, coming from as I mentioned, my strict family upbringing, they had these cultural customs where they feel like being older in years automatically means you're wiser and that you know better, and that children should just be obedient to their parents. So I unfortunately did feel disempowered by my family for a long time when they said, do this, do that, we know better, pick a real career like a doctor, and you can't make it as an artist, you'll be living out of a box. And so I've really, unfortunately, had to work through that. Those have been more ingrained in me than I realized. And now it's been 7 years of conscious self-help and personal development just to finally untangle all of that and to feel empowered again, to live a life that I love, a life that feels right and true to my heart.
And honestly, that's what life is all about. I mean, our career is what we make of it. And sometimes we're in the right place, sometimes we're not. And sometimes we have to make those transitions. But if you're living life kind of on your terms, as you are, Dr. Toni, and you realized along the way, hey, there's something that I always wanted to do, and I never had the chance to do because of my occupation, because I took all of that time to become a physician, and you're being a family doctor, and you're taking care of so many families throughout their lifetime. You never really had a chance to think about that childhood dream. And I know for myself, personally, I always had a childhood dream of being a truck driver. I would be riding my bikes around that whole neighborhood, just looking at the big rigs coming by and the 18-wheelers. And I thought that was going to be the life for me. And I told my parents one day, they came home and they said, hey, if you want to be a truck driver, you can be whatever you want to be, and kind of left it like that. And it wasn't until later in life, I went on to become a physician and do something else. But I had an opportunity, and I wrote about it in License to Live, to actually go for that commercial driver's license. And when I finally did that, it was much harder than I ever thought. And I said, I need some more training, and it just didn't work out. But the fact that you have that childhood dream, sometimes it never leaves you. And in your case, wanting to be a cartoonist was your primary objective in life, and you didn't come back into that until a little bit later. So tell me about that creativity. Tell me about that dream of being a cartoonist and how you've brought that to reality now.
Yeah, thank you for asking. By the way, your story, that is wonderful. It's so great that you went for your dreams. I think we're always happier if we go for our dreams rather than wondering on our deathbed, what if I had just allowed myself to take a chance?
The Comeback.
Yeah, finding my way back to my art side was hard. I feel like I've lost that creativity when I entered my 8-year program. I just thought it was a natural part of growing up. Before, I just couldn't stop drawing, and I didn't stop thinking of things to draw. But I was realizing that it's what added color to my life. And so when in medical training, everything, it's very grueling. You spend all your waking hours on it. I mean, I barely had time to eat and exercise and other self-care when we're working 80 hours a week. But I carved out time. I just started drawing again. I just started thinking of, well, what causes, what missions really resonate with me. So I actually just started drawing about my women's health related things. There were some projects that I got involved in, such as, hey, explaining what these birth control methods are, coming up with mnemonics. I realized that was a great way to blend my life so far And I just really love that. I realized through my art, I love bringing joy to people. I love helping them see things in a new way, in a way that they haven't before, opening their minds, opening their hearts. That really stood out to me. And I think my personal struggles too have led me to be really passionate about mental health. And I feel like that's definitely not talked about enough. Even amongst healthcare workers, there's this epidemic of physician burnout and suicide and everything. I love Dr. Pamela Weibel. I saw she was a guest on your podcast before too. And so, and a creative expression, I also love Z-Dog ND. He makes parody videos teaching. So I realized the way I wanted to be a cartoonist was to empower and educate and advocate for the missions that I believe in, which I mentioned are social justice, women's rights, equality for all, is ending prejudice, bringing our entire world closer in acceptance and harmony and understanding of each other.
And being able to push those platforms ahead using your artistic abilities is a great way to share your gifts with the world, because a lot of people look at medicine as an art or, it's always a practice, but there's a lot of science to it and a lot of things that you just plain old have to do or know how to get to. But in your case, you're using art to exemplify what you do in medicine. And so you use it to help speak up for some women's health issues, or maybe even teach some women's health issues, or get people to look at things in another way. And that's fantastic. And where can people find more out about that?
Oh, thank you. They can go to my website or my Instagram. My blog name is LT Nomad. I came up with the name in part because I wanted to live that lifestyle of a digital nomad, which I haven't mentioned until now. I'm really, really drawn to experiencing other cultures of other countries, not just as a tourist, but as a local. So I really get an accurate understanding of what life is like for them, and hopefully to learn from other people and how we're more similar than we are different as one human race, and hopefully to share with others. I plan to start video logging after the pandemic's over of the countries that I go to, because I only spent 5 months after residency traveling through Europe and Morocco, and I loved it. And I plan to go to South America next, and then Asia.
A real world traveler in action. And there's a lot more traveling to do, obviously, for you to get out there and knock off different continents, countries, and really learning about the cultures. Because what I'm hearing you say is it's all about celebrating differences, and we can learn so much from each other. We can learn from each other's cultures or where somebody lives, and not only maybe just kind of dropping in the tourist, but really immersing yourself and truly getting drawn into the culture.
Right, exactly. And I feel like you need to spend at least a month, really even half a year. And I was like, there are 200 countries in the world. I better get started now. And I do want a family, but I think it's possible to have a world traveling family. There are people who do it now. So anything's possible. Don't just assume some things are mutually exclusive, because I'm sure you can find exceptions.
And I mean, and that's great advice coming from a life coach, I have to say, because the world of possibilities truly are endless if you're able to think about them in a way that, well, you believe in yourself. And it may be a long shot. It may be something that's that childhood dream, but you've proven to us already that if that dream is there, you can still go after it at any time in life, even if it doesn't happen going from point A to point B to point C, and you may have to take a stop at J and then come back to F. That's okay. That's what life is all about. And if you're enjoying that journey, you're going to be fine.
Exactly. So well said. And I think there's that sunk cost fallacy that some of us fall into the trap of, right? Because I spent 10 years or 20 years already on this one path means it's too late for me. No, you still have 70, 60 more years left of your life to live. I didn't start truly living until I was 30. So it's never too late.
It's never too late. It never is. And tell us about living life. I mean, I think that's one of the things that stands out to me, that you really are trying to get others to understand, that living life on your own terms and truly living life is what it's about. So how do you spread that message to people and help them understand, hey, just because I had this dream once upon a time doesn't mean it's for me. I'm just going to stay miserable working in this job until, well, I retire. I don't know.
That's a great question. What does it mean to truly live life? Well, I think that one of them that's really important is living and enjoying the moment, living every day as if it were our last, because we don't actually know what will happen. We could run into an accident, something could happen, and our whole world could shift, right? So being present, appreciating each day as it comes is part of living fully. But the second part is really living, when they say authentically or true to your heart, we all have that inner guiding voice, as we mentioned before. And a lot of times we try to change ourselves or hide certain parts of ourselves to try to fit in better with certain people. And we keep ourselves small, or we try to box ourselves into some enclosed area. And I see living fully as living with the true you, living vibrantly, being unafraid to show the world your real self, and just believing in yourself that you have something valuable to offer this world, because I believe down to my core that everyone does. And that's another one of my missions, to help as many people as possible do that, become the best versions of themselves.
If you approach life through that lens where you can appreciate that everyone has a contribution, your life is going to be full of joy. I mean, when you can sit and listen to somebody, talk to someone, understand their point of view, perhaps understand a different solution to a problem, and simply just listen, we can learn a lot from each other. And I know you've invested a lot of self-development in yourself and a lot of things that you're going through now, even talking about developing yourself back, developing those artistic talents back again. There's always ways that you can work on yourself and get yourself to develop yourself into the best person you can be. Give us a tip that you use in your daily life that helps you be the best person that you can be.
Well, I always try to step out of myself and always ask myself, what would I do from love? Right? If I was a loving, compassionate person, what would be my driving force? What would I say? How would I react? How would I treat someone? How would I be in the world? And that has always been a really good guiding compass.
That's it. Hey, if you approach things with love and not hate, this world would be a much better place. I appreciate that sentiment, Dr. Toni.
Thank you. Yeah, not hate, not fear, because those are very big drivers in life too.
They are. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we need more enjoyment. And something I saw that you are going to do to create more enjoyment in your own life and enjoyment in many other people's, as you want to help many people, is a dance course. So tell us a little bit about, I pay attention. I'm telling you guys, I'm staying in LinkedIn in between the episodes. So I'm seeing everything that's going on there. So tell us a little bit about those 2 left feet that you graduated into something big time.
Oh, thank you. I never thought I would be a dancer. I am very shy, introverted kid, always like to be behind the scenes, but now I find myself really wanting to inspire people to express themselves through creative expression and move. And I find that I just lose myself. I just get into this state of flow when I'm dancing and moving my body and not really caring how I'm moving, even though I've had no formal dance lessons, just from sheerly doing it for so many years. It's been 18 years since I first stepped on one of those nerdy DDR, Dance Revolution video game pads, where it's mostly stomping rather than graceful dancing, and then I just found other dance video games, and I went to Zumba classes all the time at the gym. And then now I'm a decent dancer. The point is having fun, letting loose, really living life fully, right? Just not being so self-conscious. So I want to help bring that joy to other people. And so that's why I'm offering, I call them my L.O.V.E dance classes, L.O.V.E for Liberate, Open, Validate, and Empower.
Wow. You got to say that again, Dr. Toni. Everybody has to hear your acronym for love.
Oh, thank you. So it's liberate, open, validate, and empower. Those
are just fantastic principles to live by. Rolls up into a wonderful word of love that we really can't do enough of these days. And you're getting some creative energy in another way. So make sure you check out those classes, the L.O.V.E dance classes, and just let loose. Just let loose. Absolutely let loose. Dr. Toni, where can people find out more about you? Thank you so much. So I'm on social media, Toni Liu, Facebook, a bit on Instagram and LinkedIn, and my website, LT Nomad. I'm thinking about changing the name to Dr. Toni, but it's just already been a thing. So I think I'll keep it. LT Nomad just came from my Chinese name, Liu Tong. It's last name first, right? Nomad. But my branch of that website, Dr. Toni, it's a play on my name. I'm Dr. Toni, but I do cartoons. So it's Toni with an I. Just Google that. I hope you can find me. Sorry, that was a little confusing. And we're going to have all of those links in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about it, folks. We're going to have it all right there, so you can check out exactly what she's doing on all these different platforms. Dr. Toni, this has been a wonderful conversation. You've really enlightened us with your principles around loving and listening and learning and living. All of these things you've wrapped up into this short episode today. And I hope you guys can unpack this, because what she's saying is really going to bring some joy to your life if you only will take the time to look for it. Dr. Toni, is there anything you'd like to say to our audience today? Thank you so much, Dr. Jarrett. I would say you just created your own acronym yourself with the 4 L's: loving, listening, learning, and living. Should write that down. I know I'm going to write that down. Credit you. Folks, Dr. Toni and I are working on our next book together. We have these acronyms going on. And so stay tuned. Hey, I'd love to do that. I'm always up for collaborations. I guess that's what I would want to say. Hit me up. I am always up for collaborations about anything that I'm passionate about. If you are also passionate about wellness, authenticity, minority rights, social justice, loving, spreading more love in the world, please don't hesitate to reach out. I don't bite. I'm also starting up a new course. I'm doing a lot of things, but one of the projects I'm doing is shame-free sex ed, starting in January, to really destigmatize a lot of topics surrounding sex and sexuality. And we'll talk all things gender, orientations, identity. It's all about really learning, discovering, embracing ourselves, and not feeling ashamed about any parts of ourselves. That's it. That sounds very interesting. So again, folks, I'm going to make sure we have the links to that. So this episode will be airing before this. So if you guys subscribe, like I asked you, and say, hey, it's right here, you're going to be on the cutting edge of what Dr. Toni has to offer. So we'll have all of that in the show notes. Dr. Toni, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on Licensed to Live. Thank you so much, Dr. Jarrett.
Final judgment. Licensed to Live.
Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, disempowered, like Dr. Toni, please invite them along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and subscribe to Licensed to Live. And while you're there, rate this episode and let us know what you want to hear about. In the meantime, hey, find us on social media at Dr. Jarrett. Spell out the word Dr. J-A 2 R's E 1 T. And we'll see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.